Hurricane Conference that's underway in Florida. Today, we're joined virtually by National Hurricane Center Director Dr. Michael Brennan to discuss the 2024 hurricane season and the impact the changing climate is having on hurricanes. Dr. Brennan, thanks for joining us today. What is the outlook for the 2024 hurricane season?
Well, NOAA doesn't release its seasonal forecast outlook until we get to late May, so it's a little early to get specifics, but we are anticipating that a La Nina, a cooling of ocean temperatures in the Pacific, is going to develop by the time we get to the peak of this upcoming hurricane season, and that does tend to increase hurricane activity in the Atlantic basin. We've also seen some very warm water temperatures in the Atlantic as well, so the combination of those two could lead to some significant activity.
So 2023's hurricane season was quite active. We had 20 named storms, the fourth most since 1950. Now, the El Nino we've been in this winter is forecast to weaken. You mentioned perhaps transitioning to a weak La Nina by this summer. What kind of impact could this have on the Atlantic basin?
Yeah, typically when you have a La Nina, you tend to have lower wind shear, which is a less of a change in wind speed and direction with height, especially across portions of the western Atlantic basin. And that can tend to lead to more favorable overall large-scale conditions.
Dr. Brennan, is the National Hurricane Center seeing impacts from climate change, and is that having an impact on the intensity of tropical systems?
You know, the impact on intensity of storms is a little less certain, but what we are confident in is the impact of the water hazards. We are seeing sea level rise happening already. Sea level is higher now in many places, in most places, than it was 20 years ago, and it will be higher 20 years from now. So that's increasing the risk of storm surge along the coast. It's raising the base water level that then a storm creates storm surge on top of. So that's pushing storm surge into areas where it may not have occurred before, and it's making other locations more vulnerable to storm surge. On the other front that we're seeing is that a warmer atmosphere, we know in a warming climate, is going to hold more moisture. And we are seeing higher rainfall rates in tropical storms and hurricanes, and we're likely to see that continue. That leads to more freshwater flooding, flash flooding, which can be a significant concern in portions of the interior Northeast where you have topography and heavy rainfall and moisture interacting with the mountains up there in New England. And so, again, the water hazards are what kill the vast majority of people in tropical storms and hurricanes. About 90% of the direct deaths in the U.S. are due to storm surge and freshwater flooding. And so that's certainly concerning as we move into, future warming climate scenarios, is that we're confident that those hazards are going to get worse, even if the character of the storms themselves doesn't change.
Now, here in New England, hurricanes, tropical storms, fairly uncommon, but certainly we're no stranger to those. How should New Englanders be preparing for the season ahead?
Yeah, we saw impacts in New England from, Lee last year. Again, we coordinated more with some of the offices up in the Northeast than we did with offices along the Gulf Coast. So those impacts, while they are less frequent, can happen and can even happen multiple times in a given season into New England. I think the biggest message to anyone in a hurricane-prone area is know your risk. If you live along the coast, know if you live in an area that's prone to storm surge or coastal flooding, and if you might be asked to evacuate your home, because that's going to form the basis of your hurricane plan. Know where you're going to go, how you're going to get there ahead of time. The other risk you want to make sure you're aware of is, again, do you live in a flood-prone area from freshwater flooding? Do you live along a creek, a stream, or a river that can flood, and you might have to leave your home for that risk as well? Make sure you have proper levels of insurance. Make sure you have your disaster preparedness kit, food, water, medicine, other supplies that you might need for several days in the aftermath of a major storm to make yourself self-sufficient. And the other advice is take care of your friends and relatives and neighbors who may not be able to get ready by themselves, and make sure that your community is going to be safe as a whole heading into the season.
All right, great information there. Dr. Michael Brennan, Director of the National Hurricane Center. Thanks for your time today.